Time now to review the papers, and as Kadi said, Mr. Igo Akiria joins us now. He's a member, Nigeria Guild of Editors. He joins us from our Abuja studio. It's good to see you, Mr. Akiria. Thank you for joining us yet again.
Yeah, good morning, Bukola. It's a pleasure to always be here.
Yes. Let's start with the Guardian newspaper this morning. You know, the economy is huge on our conversations today, but there's another aspect, you know, that the Guardian is focusing on. Take a look at the big story. Concerns over new customs levy, weak import as car ownership turns luxury. And there's one insight there. Importers take advantage of additional charge for price gouging. And, you know, there's, you know, a graphic illustration of what Nigerians are currently going through with price attached to the peculiar brand of car that anyone may be considering or perhaps not considering amid this current economic crunch. Take a look at it. Toyota Corolla 2013 model now goes for 13.5 million naira. Honda Accord 2013 now goes for 13.8 million naira. And even the Suzuki that you would have thought would be within the reach of those even beyond the middle class now goes for a whopping 6.5 million naira. And the other day, you know, one of the economic experts was talking about how the middle class has been eliminated as a result of the economic policies of this administration. How are you reflecting on this particular impact of the policies on the economy, Mr. Igo?
Well, when I saw this report late yesterday, I was a bit surprised because already most Nigerians are complaining about the crunch, the economic crunch, the hardship that is affecting everyone. And if you consider that against the backdrop of the declining value of the naira, you know, the government would easily say, oh, they have been able to stabilize the naira at vis-a-vis the exchange rate, you know. But that stabilization is still hovering around 1,530, 1,535 to the dollar. That is very, very huge compared to what the exchange rate in 2015 before the APC government took power. So for me, it resonates very well, but quite negatively with most Nigerians that, you know, when the cars that we are talking about here, even used cars, these are not new cars. At the time that the federal government itself has signed the policy on electric vehicles, CNG vehicles and all of that, which are supposed to be brand new vehicles. So as a country, we are very quick at embracing new technologies, new international conventions on whether climate change that has to do with automobiles that comply with international treaties, climate change and all of that, environmentally friendly automobiles. But we are not willing to deal with the elementary issues that has to do with even the access to these cars that can help to mitigate climate impact. So this news and this report is not smelling of roses to many people this morning. If Toyota Corolla 2013 can be going for well over 13 million naira at a time that the national minimum wage, the debate is still around 70,000 naira a month. So a worker will work for 30 days and he gets 70,000 naira, which is, of course, less than $100. So these are the challenges, and I just hope the government would at some point really sit back and rework its economic policies to reflect the realities and the complexities that affect most Nigerians at the moment.
You know what's even very concerning, Mr. Akiria? So let's say the minimum wage earners, well, because of what they earn, at least it will be tough for them to afford it. The way the Guardian breaks it down says that it will take at least 2.5 years to save towards buying a decade-old car worth 10 million naira from a monthly income of 1 million naira, given that 30% is committed to the goal monthly. So even for those earning 1 million naira monthly, it will take them a long time to save to be able to purchase this kind of car, because obviously they won't spend all their salary on trying to buy a car. There's rent, there's food, which takes up at least 50% and all of that. So it really paints that picture, and you wonder what is being done. But take a look at New Telegraph, Mr. Akiria. New Telegraph speaks to politics this morning, 2027, and it's something from INEC saying, early campaign breaches electoral law. INEC warns politicians. Ban on electioneering hasn't been lifted. Falano. Some of the politicians will say, "No, what we're doing is not campaigning. We're just rallying people together. Just trying to, Mr. Keria, what do you make of all of this? Because it looks like everybody is doing campaigning right now, if we're going to be honest in that sense."
Well, I have two quick reactions. First and foremost, I think INEC has become a toothless bulldog. The law clearly empowers the Independent National Electoral Commission to punish infractions. That includes early campaigns without approval from INEC. So, but INEC will always come out to warn that for politicians that are campaigning, they are disobeying the law. So why not just with the big stick? That's one. But if you believe politicians, particularly Nigerian politicians, it means you believe anything. Politicians will tell you that they are not campaigning, but what are they doing? The newspaper headlines are replete every day with reports of how they are preparing for 2027, how the opposition party itself are also engaging with the ruling party. For example, Peter Obi is talking about a one-term presidency. We have political parties aligning under the ADC, the PDP reconvening and strategizing, the APC itself, strategizing on strong pushbacks. And you could see these rhetorics coming, and they are getting a bit more sensitive, and they're also a bit more comfortable. Sometimes it's also coming up with threats. So what is campaign if what we read in the papers and what we hear the politicians say is not campaign? So for me, the campaigns have started in earnest, well, about 2 years to even the election. This is just August. So we just have roughly 1 year and 7 or 6 months to the election. And that is quite early in the day to begin campaign when there's so much work to be done. We just took the story on customs rise, customs tax, rise on imported cars, and nobody is addressing those issues. And you also look at insecurity, which is still ravaging parts of the country almost everywhere. And of course, the road conditions are impassable. I'm from Delta State. As we speak, the train service from Itakpa in Kogi State to Warri is disrupted. It's not been working for 3 days. If you have to go by that train, it continuously breaks down. So these are fundamental issues that should be addressed at a time that you can't even travel by road from Abuja or any part of the north to the south. So for me, I see these as very serious challenges, such that the southern part of the country, particularly from Edo State, Delta State, Bayelsa, Rivers, is almost cut off. If you have to go by road, once you go beyond Kogi State, you can't proceed anymore. Edo State is worse, and as we move into Delta State to Bayelsa, we talk about East-West Road. The rains are here. Part of the road is being cut off. So there are issues that I think the federal government should address. For the train service, if you have ever taken a trip on the train, you'll be ashamed that these are refurbished coaches, rejected coaches, maybe in India and China, that were simply refurbished and then dumped on us as new coaches. And that is why you see the regular breakdown and passengers suffering on the way. You take the VIP, the so-called VIP coach on the train, it is laughable. There's nothing like VIP there. And then you cannot even complete your journey, a journey of 6 hours. Some arrive the next day. So I think this is an area that the federal government should look at. The management of the NROC should look at this very seriously. I'm pained by it. That's why I brought it up this morning. So for politicians that are campaigning, I think this is not the time. There's so much work to be done by the ruling party and the government.
And speaking of, campaigns, we wonder if the warning by INEC should be restricted to the pages of newspaper and extended to political parties with, enforcement of what the Electoral Act really says. But away from politicking to the Nigerian News Direct, which looks at, a major development from the last 12 hours coming from the presidency. NERA 2025, Tinubu signs reform bill ending 20 years deadlock in insurance sector. And, this is being touted as a game changer when you consider the reforms contained in the bill that has now become law. But, as Kade said earlier, many Nigerians approach insurance, with some form of hesitancy. When you're done with your third-party insurance for your vehicle, some never even go, the extra mile to get a comprehensive insurance vehicle for their vehicles. A lot of us are guilty here. So how does this increase the confidence quotient in the insurance sector for Nigerians to take up a policy beyond just insuring their cars in the third-party model to even insuring other aspects of their lives, their businesses, their lives? Mr. Akiria.
Well, I see this as an interesting development. Many people do not know that the insurance sector is has more financial liquidity than the banking sector. It's actually richer than the banking sector. And the reason why the insurance sector, appear to be richer than the banking sector is because most insurance companies do not pay premiums to customers, or to beneficiaries. If there are issues, you see the insurance company go to court, they hire the best lawyers, and they can stretch the litigation to no end, and that becomes very frustrating. That is on one hand. On the other hand, the literacy level, the insurance literacy level in Nigeria is very low. If you compare that to even the per capita income. Earlier I spoke about the wages that Nigerians earn. If a man earns 70,000, maybe 120, 150,000 naira, that can barely feed him and his family for more than 3-4 days in the first week after earning his salary. Why would he be thinking of insuring himself? Don't forget, beyond even third-party insurance for vehicles, we have life insurance, we have property insurance. You can actually also insure your valuables, whether it's your necklaces, your wristwatches. If you think they are valuable, you can actually insure them against loss and damages. You can insure your television, you can insure, so many things can be insured. So in Nigeria, the insurance culture and the awareness is still very, very low, so very poor that most people do not. When people talk about insurance, they look at it with suspicion that it is some kind of phony Ponzi scheme that is meant to rip people off of their resources. But in advanced economies and societies, most people insure, one, because they have better wages, two, the insurance companies themselves are very responsible and they are alive to their responsibilities. How many insurance companies can any Nigerian walk up to? Insurance also actually give loans. They can release funds for capital investment, for all kinds. So it's not only the banks, and that is why some of the insurance companies are actually very, very rich, because they are able to reap profits from revolving investment and funds. So I think the insurance companies and the government itself have to rev up advocacy. The National Orientation Agency needs to do that. The insurance companies, we need to run advertisements in the media to sensitize Nigerians on the benefits of all the categories of insurance. How many Nigerians actually do the comprehensive insurance? I have a car. I doubt when I've ever, signed on to comprehensive insurance. Even the third party, if not for the police and law enforcement agencies breathing down the neck of car owners, I doubt if anybody wants to even do the third-party insurance. So I think there's much work to be done. But the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have signed this into law, it is a positive development. It's a good step in the right direction. The president is inching closer to his promise of a $1 trillion economy. But whilst he is doing that, right, I think Mr. President should also be looking at the impact of some of these policies on the lives of Nigerians. We should be moving people out of poverty. into some kind of economic stability, such that Nigerians should be able to feed themselves. There should be basic infrastructure. If you want to move around from one point to the other, the roads should be good. There should be security. So these are issues that we should be looking at. But overall, it's a good pathway forward.
Absolutely, and that's something we're going to be exploring on the program, particularly because there's also the enforcement of zero tolerance when it comes to delays in claim settlement, which has always been a thorny issue. Even for the third party, the kind of things you have to bring just to access the third party insurance, which is even not for you, for the vehicle that is affected, is usually almost like a Herculean task. So this must be done right, and we'll explore it. And I must just say that the Vanguard newspaper leads with 2027 as well. Obi's single-term pledge raises dust that has caused a lot of debate around whether it's true or not. A very extensive debate. So I don't know if we'll be falling into that trap of campaigning or joining the campaign ahead of 2027 if we further discuss this. But there's a curious story just at the top of the front page, because we're talking about wealth redistribution, ensuring that the poor are able to get some semblance of life in terms of transport, feeding, and all of that. So how would this be done? Well, billionaire businessman Femi Otedola is writing a memoir, and some of the insights from the from the memoir are coming out. So he says that banks wooed him with pretty ladies for deposits and sent thugs when his business went down. This got a lot of people talking, and you've mentioned the banking industry as well. I don't know, what do you make of this? First, a billionaire sharing his own journey to wealth, and also giving some very interesting insights into his experience in the hands of banks in Nigeria.
Well, quite interesting that this is coming from one of the richest men in Nigeria, Femi Otedola himself. If you look at the issues he has raised and his personal experience, I think it resonates with many Nigerians. The banks will always impose charges, but when you approach them to give out a support loan, maybe for investment or anything, the conditions are always very, very stringent. And that has slowed down the economy itself. Most banks are supposed to support the informal sector with either short-term or long-term loan, but the banks are usually very, very hesitant, in giving out these loans or approving them. They take you through a very stressful procedure such that it becomes discouraging. Even when you do get these loans, you find that the interest margin, is determined by the banks. They keep raising the percentage interest from time to time, such that if you take maybe 100,000 naira from a bank to pay back in about a year or 6 months, every month end there's a variation to the interest rate, such that it discourages even banking customers from accessing bank loans. So Otedola sharing his experience this morning is something that most Nigerians will find very interesting, because many of these Nigerians have had their own personal experiences to share. On the Peter Obi story, I find it again very interesting. But if you look at Peter Obi as a person, and you look at his body language and the way he's coming across with this promise to do a one-term if he does win the presidency in 2027, and the debate that his statement has generated, it resonates with what former President Goodluck Jonathan proposed, a 6-year single term for the president. I think that is what Mr. Obi is trying to look at. But the issue is the issue of trust then comes up. He is trying to rally the understanding and support of the North. The North has a very huge voting bloc. If the North does agree with him that if they throw their weight behind him, that he could then just do 4 years and hand over power to anybody from the North. Well, it's always very nauseating for me. I find it very rankling if I find myself discussing regional politics, north and south politics. Power gets back to the north and then comes back to the south. For me, I think that is one of the debilitating factors why we have not made any progress in this country. If we are pushing merit to the back door and rather looking at, oh, it is my turn and it is your turn. This turn-by-turn politics has not helped us as a country. Other countries that have made progress are looking at their best minds, the best individuals that can deliver on good economic policies that can move their countries forward. So it is not about regional politics of moving it from one end to the other. So, but if Peter Obi is able to convince Nigerians that he should be trusted with this, his one-term promise, maybe that is going to create an upset, such that if he does succeed, it means that the entitlement mentality of politicians always thinking that they're entitled to a second term would have been clearly obliterated. So we wait to see how this is a developing story. Wait to see how this pans out in the days ahead.
It certainly is developing, particularly if it indeed happens. So what happens after that? That's a question on the minds and, I believe, lips of many Nigerians. But let's quickly go to this Nigeria as we wrap up now. Of course, it doubles down on New Telegraph's focus on INEC's warning to political parties. But amid all of that, there are other concerns, and many have been speaking to how politicians seem to have developed amnesia. While development issues remain, campaigning are ongoing, and governance seems to have been left to suffer. Speaking of which, look at the story beneath the big picture on the front page of this Nigeria. Lassa fever toll rises, 811 infected, 152 dead in 7 months. And there are a few riders there. Okay, just one. Virus spreads to 21 states, 105 local governments as health authorities intensify containment efforts. What does this say? I imagine about our primary healthcare centers, which should be the first, response infrastructure to this kind of health challenge.
This is, I must say, this story by this Nigeria is it's thought-provoking. It brings back the memories of the challenges that the health sector in this country faces. This is almost assuming the level of a scourge or a pandemic. If 7 states are already witnessing the impact of Lassa fever. By the way, Lassa fever, and I think it's caused by rats also, rats that have access to foods that are consumed by humans. The Edo State used to have, Edo State is notorious for this disease, where rats, where farmers, and particularly in the rural areas, dry their gari and other farm products on the road, and rats have access to them, and this then passes on as food to humans, and then becomes the Lassa fever that we talk about. So, and most of this food also, moved across borders, state borders to other states. I think that is why it is spreading already. The government is not paying sufficient attention to this, if you ask me. If not for this Nigeria that has reported this, it is very good health report. It's a story that touches on human lives. And if you look at the response level, our primary healthcare responses, particularly the PHCs, primary healthcare centers, are virtually non-existent in this country. And the general hospitals in most states are poorly equipped. The federal medical centers are besieged with a huge number of patients amid incessant strike by doctors and nurses. So the health sector itself has its own unique and peculiar challenges that I think the government will specifically need to put more funds in that sector. For politicians themselves, well, I doubt if they bother so much, because they just take a trip abroad and then look after themselves using the best of medical facilities that are available overseas. But this is a call to action. The outbreak of Lassa fever that is spreading rapidly across Nigeria, already in 7 states, this is the time for for the Federal Ministry of Health, to put a wedge on it, put a stop to it, and look at actually put a test. That is, test whether passengers that are moving from impacted states to other states at the motor parks or at the border areas. It is also good to have people tested so that they do not transport the diseases to states that are not already impacted, and then take strong measures to curtail the spread and to treat those that are already affected. This is a serious challenge, and I think we have the capacity to deal with it. I remember when the outbreak of COVID-19, Nigeria was able to at least do something about it, such that the spread was limited. So this is a recurring disease in Nigeria, Lassa fever. We should be able to develop even the vaccines that can deal with it by now, since it's almost like a yearly occurrence. It's a challenge, and I think the government, now that the paper has reported it, the government should be focusing on it specifically, with more determination, I guess.
Indeed, and we do hope that, the subnationals respond to that call to action to, empower the primary health care centers to respond to this particular challenge. And this is where we must anchor the newspaper review. And thank you very much, Mr. Igu Akiria. He's a member, Nigeria Guild of Editors. Thank you for your time on the segment.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.